Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome you guys out to another episode of According to Kaz and Queen. And as always, I am Kaz.
And I'm Queen.
And we want to welcome you to this little podcast of ours. These are conversations that happen between a husband and wife in the privacy of our own home that we bring to you guys, sometimes to make you laugh, sometimes to make you think, to be introspective. But most of all, we want to open up the lines of communication between men and women, and hope you have been enjoying all of the previous podcasts. So we thank all of the new listeners and the new viewers to the podcast. Of course, if you are just joining us, you can follow us on all streaming services. You can check us out everywhere, all right, including Black with No Chaser Radio, all right, BWNC Radio. Download the BWNC Radio app, the Black with No Chaser Radio app. Download it. You can check us out every Tuesday at 7 p.m. for a brand new broadcast. It's a lot of dope podcasts on that station, as a matter of fact. So make sure you download it, all right? You can go into the iTunes store or the Google Play Store. Check that out. Make sure you do that. And, of course, if you prefer to watch and check out our bright, shiny faces, you know what to do. Subscribe. Check us out on the YouTube page. You know what to do. Bam. Right under my finger right there. Subscribe to that channel. All right. YouTube.com/Brad Kamikaze Franklin. All right. YouTube.com/Brad Kamikaze Franklin. A lot of dope content there. You can check out According to Kaz and Queen there. Some good things, Jackson. You can check out the footage of Love and Life 11 and 10, as a matter of fact, on that channel. So make sure you like and subscribe. Turn on the notifications. All right. YouTube.com/Brad Kamikaze Franklin. All together. All right. Make sure you do that and keep up. Let's get to 1,000 subscribers. All right. That's what we need to do. All right. So y'all share with a friend, pass it along. Let's get those subscribers up. All right. And also, of course, this show is brought to you by the Corny Collection. And I'm wearing one of the t-shirts right here, representing for the crib, representing for my city, Jackson, Mississippi. Jackson as fuck. You can get that at www.cornycollective.com, www.cornycollective.com. You don't want me to say as fuck?
I mean, it says Jackson AF.
I mean, they know what it means, but,
they know what it means.
This is our podcast, so we can say as fuck on here if we want to.
Yeah, but for people who might not want to walk around with the word, you can tell them that, they may not be able to see that. For the people who are listening.
Yes. Okay. It says Jackson AF. It doesn't say Jackson as fuck for the people that are listening. It says Jackson AF, #Jackson AF. So make sure you go to www.cornycollective.com and check that out. And we would appreciate you to do it. There's a lot of great designs on there. As a matter of fact, every week, if you're watching us on YouTube, I'll probably be wearing one of the designs, or my bride might be wearing one of the designs. So make sure you check it out. And we appreciate you guys for continuing to follow us and tell us that you enjoy the conversations. A lot of people have been listening, and a few new people are subscribing to the YouTube channel. So keep it up. We're doing this. We enjoy doing it. So, come along as you come along. We want the numbers to grow organically. We're just going to continue to keep pushing along as we are in season 2 of this little podcast of ours. So as we come to you guys today, we are on the heels of yesterday, a birthday, a born day, as it were, an anniversary of the birth of the Queen herself. We talked about it a little bit last week on the podcast as we were getting ready, and we talked about a few, reflections on, reaching that milestone. But we've had some conversations over the past couple of days. You did a little bit more thinking and a little bit more reflecting, and I can attest to the birthdays coming up. This is really a real thing. Like, the birthdays come up, they come around, significant birthdays every year. When you get to the anniversary of your birth, you kind of get to reflecting on the year and kind of reflecting on, the newness that's coming forward. And for a lot of people, it's kind of like making resolutions at New Year's. And, the older that you get, the more you kind of think about where you are and where your place is and what you can do to do different and all those milestones that you will reach. So we were talking about some of the things that you talked about and discovered as you were celebrating this particular born day and why it was special and significant. So, touch on that a little bit.
Yeah. So, our birthdays are actually the real new year. That's when your real new year starts. Mm-hmm. And whether you're paying attention or not, it is usually the time where you start, as your birthday season comes up, just universally, it is usually the time where you start to evaluate yourself or notice different things about yourself. You should. A lot of people, miss that opportunity. But those of you who are aware and who actually participate in your growth, you'll notice that starts to happen just organically, just universally. It happens. And I'm intentional about it. Growth is a thing that I really put a lot of energy into. I definitely don't want to be the same place, be in the same place or position or thinking pattern this year as I was last year. I anticipate being different, being new, being closer to the best version of myself. Mm-hmm. So I actually take time off. I schedule less sessions. Where I've elected not to do a Whispers and Screams for the second time this month. We usually do 2. Mm-hmm. But I elected to not do the second one because I didn't want to take energy away from me. I wanted to spend that energy, whether it was good or bad, just on me, and not have to concentrate on being that for other people. So I did not do a second Whispers and Screams this month in anticipation of self-reflection. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've learned a lot about myself in this season. A lot of things that I don't necessarily like about myself. And those things I will continue to work on now that, I've given power to those things by speaking them out loud and sharing them with my loving husband. I am going to, now I have to hold myself accountable for those things. And some of them are just, the way I react to hearing critiques and criticism. I'm a stubborn Taurian, so my first reaction is always a defensive one. So that doesn't necessarily pair well with good communication or growth. So one of the things that I've learned is that I need to be a little less involved in self as it relates to our marriage and be more thoughtful about my actions and how they make him feel. And actually this, has been coming to me for about 3 years now. I remember saying something along these lines before. And I think that it's gotten better, but something clicked this year. In the midst of a situation we were going through, something clicked and it was like, girl, what you doing? It's really easy, to pass the buck, especially when you're uncomfortable being criticized. But if you are in a loving relationship with someone, and it doesn't have to be a partner, it could be a colleague or a friend. If you have a genuine loving connection with that person and you can trust that what they're saying to you is, even though hard to hear, because they love you, care about you, want you to be better, or because they feel like this is infringing upon the relationship you have with them, then it's up to you to do your part to correct that situation. Some of it is going to be projection. Some of it is going to be that person not recognizing their contribution to whatever that issue is. Mm-hmm. But worry about what you can do and what you've done to contribute to it. And then you can actually, in a healthy way, verbalize what that other person is contributing to them, to the situation, and then give them time to actually come to grips with how they contributed to it. It's not always an easy thing to hear or say, but I believe in doing it anyway, because ultimately it's going to be better in the end to have open dialogue and for all parties to feel comfortable to be able to do that. So that's one of the things, the most urgent thing that has been laid in my lap during this birthday season.
Okay. Let me ask you this, and this is not really a sidebar, but I see conversations about this, and I want you to kind of explain for our audience in your words, because a lot of people ask questions about this. When you talk about being a Taurian and you talk about Taurus season, and we hear people talk about Mercury being in retrograde, and there are those people who may not subscribe to the same way of thinking that you do, and I want you to kind of talk about that a little bit. The premise that some people have that you can't judge a person's personality or the way that they act by their zodiac sign, and that, a person's behavior is not particular to people because they are a certain zodiac sign, or a person's behavior is not going to be affected by a particular planet being in retrograde or the positioning of a moon and those things. You have those people who are cynical, and doubtful, and skeptical of those things. But, as a person who yourself, looks to those things and, I wouldn't say subscribes to them, but, you are a believer. Explain that premise when you talk about being a Taurian, or you talk about, people's actions or their feelings when Mercury is in retrograde or the moon is in this positioning and that kind of thing. And the premise that you can't really determine what people's reactions and their behaviors are going to be based upon those particular things.
Well, I don't see any reason why I would need to explain or clarify that to anybody who is a disbeliever. I mean, that would be like me trying to explain to people who don't believe in God that there is a God. I don't see any purpose in that. People have their right to their own opinions and interpretations of living. But I will say that we are all energy. Everything is energy. So if we are energy and we understand that energy transfers, we have to understand that trees have energy, rocks have energy. Everything created is living and breathing. So not scientifically, but spiritually and universally. So if we understand that, it wouldn't be too hard to fathom that the earth, the Mercury, the planets also are energy. How could we be energy and connect to energy and not connect to the earth, not connect to the planets, not connect to, the sky, the moon, the stars? All of those things are living, breathing things. So, of course, we have a connection to it. And of course, that energy is going to, have some direct reflection up on us, like the full moon. Some people, the full moon actually does generate energy that affects us.
It has a gravitational pull.
So if that is the case, then why wouldn't you be able to identify that there are certain key parts or traits and characteristics that humans born in a particular time or season would share? I mean, that seems logical to me. So knowing that, I have studied for years, and and when I say studied, I mean studied human behavior based upon something that I have read or studied itself. So I know Taurian's energy, I know Libra energy, and I know that it's not everybody falls into it, because sometimes that energy gets interrupted by outside forces like trauma, like death, grief, things like that can throw you off a little bit. But again, it's because it's all energy. So, to each his own. You believe how you believe. I'm not a fanatic. I know people who won't leave out of their house during Mercury's retrograde, but I also believe in our power to the God in us, our power to create, our power to be the most magnificent species on the planet. So I do understand also that we don't have to operate in fear of retrogrades. Mercury is not the only planet that goes in retrograde. People need to do some reading, but it can affect you. and you can be affected without knowing that you are affected. But it's better to kind of understand what it means and what's happening during the retrograde. All of them kind of pull something different, some kind of different energy. And if you study it, you'll be able to say, oh, okay, that's what that is. Whether you believe it or not, that's up to you. I choose to be open mentally, spiritually, emotionally. And I just can't deny that I am special on this planet, but so is everybody else and everything else, so that's just where I am with it.
Have you ever met a person that was a Taurus or born within Taurus season that exhibited none of the traits?
No, but Taurus would be hard. We're kind of a Taurus from my position, and maybe it's because I'm a Taurus, but Taurians are pretty much, unless they grow into it or out of something, but Taurians are pretty much textbook from my experience.
So you've never met a person that was born
Taurian and acted like something different?
Acted differently or did not?
Not a Taurian, no. And I will say this also, there is something that you can also contribute that to, your rising, and I can't even get that far into it. I have friends who are more into it than I am, but all of those things, when you were born, what time of day you were born, all of those things kind of have an effect on your personality traits as well. So it's really deep, and it's really a lot. It's not just, oh, I'm a Taurus. It's a lot. Your moon sign, your sun sign, it's a lot. And I know those things about Taurians, but I don't know those about a lot of other people. And I know my own signs. So, just kind of look it up and study it a little bit. That don't mean that you're going to be influenced in any way that it's right for you. But just because it's not doesn't mean that it's not right for somebody else. We got to get out of the habit of making judgments on people because we believe differently than they do.
Yeah, I mean, I've had people tell me that, I exhibit the traits of a Libra.
Baby, you a Libra up and down, around, side to side.
And people tell me that. And of course, I don't follow it, as deeply as you do. And people tell me that. But I've also known some people that I've run into that were born during the season that, act completely different.
I'll give you an example. Supposedly, Taurians are outside nature people. For the longest time in my life, I hated outside. Couldn't stand it. Now, as I become more seasoned in life, I'm noticing that there's a thing that happens to me when I am outside that doesn't happen anywhere else. And I think that's what that means. We can convene with nature and have a real experience and appreciate and understand that experience. And I'm noticing that the older I get, the more I visualize happiness and where I aim to be and want to be. It includes country living. I never thought I would ever want to do that. Like sit on the porch in a rocking chair and just like have some chickens and a farm and a garden. Like I never thought that would be me. And when I think about that now, it feels refreshing. It gives me something to hope for. I don't know what we're going to do because I know that ain't really what your thing.
It's funny because I like the outside because, that's kind of a place that I go. I'll go out and I'll sit outside in our backyard or on our porch, but I don't want to be on acres away from. Yeah,
we're going to have to pray about that because that's exactly what I want. I want to be as far away from. I like the
outside, but I don't like that much. I don't want a lot of outside. I'll go sit on the porch, but if I'm sitting on the porch chilling, I love it when there's a nice breeze and it's crisp and I can go out and sit on the porch, or I'll go out under our, on our deck in the backyard and I'll sit out there. I'll love it. I'll sit out there for hours and just kind of think, but there's still houses around me. There's still people walking along the street. There's still cars coming by. There's still stuff going on. So I'm here in this place, but around me is still the grounding of you're still in an urban space or a city space. Being on my porch and looking out on acres of land and the next house is miles away.
Sounds wonderful.
That's way too expansive for me. Like, I gotta be around some bustling and some action. I gotta at least have access to it. Like, it can't be that far away.
I think I would like to have access to it too, but I can definitely see acres of land around me with a pond close behind. You know, I can definitely see that. But there was a time in my life where I definitely would have been afraid of the silence. Now I welcome silence. I'm cool with being alone. I'm cool with being by myself with my thoughts. Yeah, so I think that's one of the things that, like, for Tarian, that's something that's supposedly a part of our who we are, but I'm just not getting to that. You know what I'm saying? I'm in the second part of my life, but I'm just now getting to that. Before that, I needed city life. I wanted to be close to the goings on.
Yeah.
Now, not so much. So some of these traits that are zodiac traits, you may not be feeling them now, or you may grow out of them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I've seen that too.
So I want to talk about something a little bit because, you know, over the past, few days as your born day has come up, we've reflected on our marriage and our relationship and, dating and, different points in our journey along the way. And, we had a courtship and, a dating period when, I first began courting you. I want to talk about something that I saw on social media that I thought was interesting. There was this gentleman who was taking out this young lady on their very first date, and he rented a horse and carriage for the date. And he pulled up with the horse and carriage that he rented for the date for this young lady, and she put up a post on her social media that said, "This dude is corny. He's got a horse and carriage out here." And then, of course, naturally, the hoteps and the super machismo males came under it and said that, dating in 2023 is doomed. You can't do anything for these women these days. They don't appreciate anything. She called this dude corny for doing something romantic, for getting the horse and buggy. But then there were others who came through, of course, and said, well, he should have also been smart enough to maybe ask and maybe get to know the person that he was trying to take out and date so that he could have tailored something a little bit better on the first date. Sometimes it's difficult to do if you're trying to be romantic and you're trying to be spontaneous. It's a little difficult to do. I don't know too many women that would say that a horse and carriage is corny, but I'm married to somebody who I'm not exactly sure if she would have thought that or not on the first date, because, you were very definite about what you liked and what you didn't like. And we're going to talk about our experience in a second. But when you saw that and you saw the discourse going back and forth and her calling him corny and thinking that was corny, what were your thoughts on that?
My first thought was, oh my goodness, I hope this doesn't traumatize this man from finding the right woman who will appreciate that. Mm-hmm. I hope that doesn't happen to him, because his efforts were wonderful. And I don't think that makes him corny at all. In fact, I think that there's something to be said for taking a minute to figure out who she is. There's an argument you can make for that.
Right.
But it speaks more to her character, because I think even if she didn't like it, and let me speak for myself, even if it wasn't something that I wanted, the amount of effort that it took for him to put that together for the first day would have superseded that for me. And I would have been pleased that he took the time to do something so wonderful on the first date. That is an anniversary gift at best.
Absolutely. I mean, kudos for coming up with the horse and carriage on the very first date.
So go ahead.
I don't know if everyone even deserves that level of romanticism on the first date.
I don't know what could have possibly have been going through her head, or what I think maybe this just means that she just doesn't have the experience yet to understand what he was trying to do for her. Mm-hmm. He was showing himself to her is what he was doing, and that should be appreciated. Mm-hmm. But there is a point to be made for, figuring out who she is and what she likes. I don't want to take away from that point. That point is significant, right, but not to the point of calling the fella corny. Like, I don't think that's corny. Maybe I need to refresh myself on what corny means, because it's coming up a whole lot lately. And corny is now becoming the opposite of thug. You know what I'm saying? Like a dude that don't care about you at all. Yeah. So we done went from good and bad to corny and thuggish. Maybe, or something.
I get what you're saying.
Not thug is the wrong word, but somebody who is not as decided on pleasing his woman as another man.
Right.
You know, so it's a tough one. I don't know though. How old was she? Do you know?
I don't know, and she was probably young. I can tell you that right off the bat. You know, you and I have talked about it, and you know, in reflecting, you know, I'm thankful that when on the last show we talked about the fact that we got married, you know, later than a lot of our friends and our peers did, getting married, you know, late in our 30s and you early in your 30s. I think that helped a whole lot, because looking at what's going on now, I couldn't imagine having to date in 2023. I couldn't imagine it. The dating pool definitely has pee in it. It's crazy because the expectations that are there for women on men, the expectations on men for women, it's crazy. Social media has just exacerbated all of that. And I don't know how old this young lady was. It was corny to her, which I will gather. And I gather that this gentleman probably needs to learn going forward that he doesn't need to, you know, try to do this on the very first day.
That's not it. That's not the thing.
Yeah.
He's the guy that we were talking about before that's dating the wrong woman for him.
Yes.
What he's
definitely that's
what
true.
he's attracted to and what he wants are two different things. So he needs to actually put some emphasis on dating the woman he wants instead of the one that he's attracted to.
But how do you know that on the very first date? If this is the very first time y'all are going out, how do you know that this is the woman that's going to be accepting of the way that you show yourself?
I don't know, but I don't think it's that hard. If you have taken any amount of time to have a conversation with this woman, there's going to be some takeaways, unless you are not intuitive enough to figure that out, which I don't know. I'm sure. I don't know what on earth she could have done to make him think that she would be appreciative of that at that point. And I'm almost positive that she didn't do anything to make him think she would like that.
Right.
So he was
That's
not
just in him. It was just in him.
He was not paying attention to who she was or to the fact of what are you trying to do. This is a move like you finna get ready to propose or something. Like it was, if anything, he overextended himself on the first date. Still, that doesn't make it corny. So
in actuality, you know what I was saying earlier, like, you know, to prevent this from happening, he might need to get to know the person a little bit better before he goes to that length.
Yeah, but there are women out there who would have appreciated that.
Absolutely.
And who would have understood and, you know, cherished the fact that he did that. So
and he might not want those women.
He might not be attracted to those women. Not initially.
Yeah.
See, a lot of things go on when it's just attraction. You got to be more mindful. If you're looking for something real, attraction has to be the number 5 on the list of things that you're going after from this person. Attraction is not number 1 anymore like it used to be. But if you're looking for something serious, then attraction should not be. Now, I'm not saying that you can't be attracted at all, right. But I'm saying that cannot be the thing, the only thing. I want to do it, or I'm attracted to her. She hot. Like, that's not enough to, if you're looking for forever, that's not enough. You need a whole bunch of things more, but you got to figure that out for yourself before that. Yeah. But I know you can't stop at she hot.
Well, I mean, I can say this. There's 2 ways that you can see this, of course. You know, it wasn't for this particular woman. This wasn't how he should have shown herself to this particular woman. But then there's also the decorum of, you know, being nice and polite enough to go out on the date without openly. Like, she publicly posted and called him corny. She took a picture of the horse and carriage and said, "This is corny," and put it up on social media. And that's basically how it went viral. So there is the case of you not even being polite enough to just go on the damn date and ride on the horse and carriage and then tell the dude that, you know, you might not be the dude for me, instead of putting them on blast and saying he's corny for getting me a horse and carriage, because now you done traumatized the guy from ever doing this again. And
for the right person.
For the right person. And you may have also prevented the right guy for you approaching you.
Yep.
In the future for that. But, you know, I do agree, you know, and we had to learn that there are certain things in this marriage that I had to learn about my wife. And how you have to learn how the person that you're with wants to be loved and cared for.
You have to
know
love them that way.
Yes, and you have to understand their love language. And, you know, I learned about love language being married. Not right at the outset, but somewhere in between and in the middle, you know, it started becoming one of those conversations that we were having. You have to know how to love the person that you're with, not how you want to love them, not how you feel like they should be loved, not how you have grown up thinking that that's love, but you have to love that person and you have to treat them, you have to date them how they want to be loved. There are some people who ask the questions, you know, I see these questions all the time. There was another picture, like there was a picture of a cereal bar, and somebody said if someone asked you out and they told you to meet them and you met them at the cereal bar, and, you know, the cereal bar where they have all the different cereals and you get to eat all the cereal or whatever, you know, would that be a cool first date? Is Netflix and chill a first date? Is the bowling alley a good first date? Is a picnic a good first date? You know, and everybody has these opinions on what a date should cost. And that was the whole thing about the $200 date. Like, when you are with the right person and you know this person, you'll know what the perfect date is going to be.
Well, he clearly didn't know her, but you always putting me on blast when we doing this podcast, so I'm going to return the favor right now.
Did I just put you on blast?
Not just now, but you do it on a regular basis.
I don't.
You did it last week and the week before that.
How did I do that?
We're not going to talk about it because it was blast, but I'm going to put you on blast now. So when we first started dating, one night, lit candles all through the house, turned off everything. It was completely dark.
You're going to bring this up.
I was put on a negligee and I was finna put that thing on him to change his life. And he walked in and he was visibly something, but it wasn't what I was looking for.
I was surprised.
He was surprised.
Yes.
And I was taken aback because it was not well received. He did not. So anyway, from that day forward, he's never gotten that again. I've never done it again. I probably never will because I was traumatized. I say that to say I wanted to do that for you. The guy that I dated before that was down with that. So I brought that into the relationship, kind of thinking every man would like this. Who wouldn't like this? So when you walked in and your response was not so pleasant, I internalized that, hey, I had to go through the whole, well, shoot, am I attractive? Is it me? Because that's what women go to. Mm-hmm. And then secondly, I was like, you know, so this guy is not romantic. He is not into this. Like, I don't know what to do about this. So I just stopped. But now I've learned that he is not into surprises. He wants things to be as regular as possible. I can't even change the furniture around in the house without him knowing. It will throw him completely off. So it's not
cool. You can tell me that you're going
to
change the furniture.
Dude, don't do it. It's not what I like. It's what he likes. So I have to learn what it is that he likes. Now, if he comes in the house, this is what he likes. If he come, I don't know if I need to tell y'all what he likes, but now I know what he likes. So if I do those things, which are
what
not
are those
even,
things? Go ahead. You put me on blast. Go ahead.
Which are not
and
even,
I'm cool with it. I'm actually fine with it. I'm cool with being put on blast. That's cool.
I know you like it, actually. You're probably excited right now.
I don't like it. Excited?
Yeah. But anyway, I had to learn what you like. And just because I like it don't mean you gonna like it.
And that's fair.
I think that's the lesson here.
I do not like surprises. I don't like surprises. But I've learned to go with the flow when it's happened. You surprised me for my birthday one time by calling people over to the house. I didn't have any idea it was happening, and I didn't catch on until folks started showing up that I knew for a fact wouldn't regularly be showing up.
That was a good year.
That was a good year. And that was a good surprise. I was surprised, though. I didn't know it was happening. It was cool. It threw me off kilter, but it got me.
But it was also a birthday. So you were kind of, in whatever happens mode. This night that I'm talking about was completely random.
And this was the first time this happened. To my credit, okay, for everybody that's listening here, okay, I'm not against the romance and the candles. I'm not huge on it. I'm a real matter-of-factly, let's get in here and let's get down to business type of guy. My wife will admit that. I like to come in and let's get down to business. You don't even really need that negligee. I would prefer you to be naked when I get here. Don't need to be taking off the negligee and doing any of that. Let's get down to business. Let's do what grown folks do, and let's do what we came here to do. That's me. But I've also learned that she enjoys that. So I have learned to up my romance game, for her. I've learned that she likes roses. I've learned that she likes, softness and romance and intimacy and what it is that we're doing. And I have to learn to do that because that is your love language. So at the end of the day, it was an adjustment period. So that happened that first time. I was caught off guard because it had never happened to me before. I was caught a little bit off guard. And I did not react favorably. And at the time, one of the things that we had been working on is the fact that I didn't react favorably and you instantly shut down because I didn't react favorably to it. Mm-hmm. And I've learned that, I have to react differently, and I have to learn to let you know not to internalize it and think that it's your fault, because for the longest time you thought that it was you. Or you thought that it was your issue because I came in, it was a bunch of candles, you was with the negligee on. That had never happened before. When I walk in and I'm calling beforehand, be naked when I get there, and I'm going to walk through the door and I'm going to take my clothes off and let's go ahead and do it.
That's fine for now, but we were just starting.
That's really kind of what I've been used to until I learned to be a little bit romantic. Now,
and
granted,
that's what happened to this young lady. She wasn't used to this man or anybody showing her that much attention or being that romantic to her.
She might have been used to him calling her over to the house and saying, come through. That might have been.
Or being naked when he walked through the door. So this is what I'm saying. That's why I brought it up for. Because she wasn't used to it. Now, the way she responded to it wasn't favorable by getting on the internet talking about it and calling him names. That wasn't favorable, but that's probably inexperience and a sign of the world we live in today, where it's blast city for everybody on the internet just so they can get likes
you go straight
and
to
comments and all of that. But it's the same thing. He did not take time to figure out if she would like it. And she does not have the experience to be able to appreciate it. So both of them can learn something from this.
I guess they can. So, moving on, of course, is another issue that I want to talk about with you. Steve Harvey is talking again. He had an interview with Shannon Sharp on Club Shay Shay. And, he is big on giving relationship and marriage advice. And,
Club Shay Shay. How did he come up with that name?
I don't know.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's Club Shay Shay for whatever reason. Basically, he was handing out and doling out, manhood advice, and he was doling out marriage advice. And there's a lot of people that eat it up. I'm not a huge fan of Steve Harvey's marriage advice because there's a couple of issues, and we're going to go in there. First of all, he's been married 3 times.
Which makes him perfect to give advice.
I would guess. You're right. One way or the other, either you're taking it to heart or you are going to do the opposite of what he says. But he's clearly made some mistakes. But he got married 3 times. 2 of those times he got married to the mistress that he was cheating on his wife with. In 2 of those instances, in the first instance with the first wife with the kids, he wasn't very involved with the kids, wasn't helping to take care of the kids. The first marriage was completely a wash, I guess, as he says in his respect. But we'll talk about that in a second. But one of the things that, stood out once again, he made the statement about his wife now being his possession, saying that she belongs to him and that he, of course, belongs to her, that he wants to belong to somebody. And there has been, discussions back and forth about, is your spouse your possession and she's a person and that he's a person and that kind of thing. And, there are people who agree on one side or the other with Steve Harvey's advice. So, as my bride, I want to get your opinions on that particular premise, on the belonging to and the possession. Yes.
What does belong to mean?
Yes.
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 Because depending on what he's referring to, I might agree with that. But if I'm just going to define it for myself for what I think he's saying, I belong to God and to me.
First. Yes.
I don't belong to you. I am not a possession of any kind.
Correct.
However, I am yours, if that makes sense.
If that makes sense. You are correct.
And you are mine.
And I think that is the answer. If you look at it in that light, I don't know if he was meaning it that way.
I think that's exactly why he meant it.
He did turn around and say, well, here it is. Here's the thing. I belong to her. So he did say, I belong to her, she belongs to me, kind of thing. I don't know if it was meant in the same fashion that you just said what you said. It could possibly. But to me, it sounded like, yeah, she damn sure belongs to me. And I think it was more of a machismo, possessive type of tone, if you're asking me.
Well, if you're the person who has married your mistresses, and so you have a history of cheating, and then getting with the person you cheated with, belonging to someone would be important to you. Belonging in the fashion of nobody else, you don't go with nobody else, I'm not cheating, you not cheating, then that would be understandable, because that's how he got there, to that mind frame. He got to that mind frame because he has been a cheater. So now that he is not cheating, so we think, or whatever. So now that he has grown a bit and can appreciate marriage more, in his mind, he has internalized that to make sense for him as a former cheater. It makes sense for him to say, she is mine, I am hers, we don't cheat. So I think that's where the passion that you hear that makes it confusing for you to decipher that it might be a little bit more on it than what we're putting on it comes from his life experience.
It could. I mean, I want to, I get it. There was a point in our relationship early on, where I made the demonstrative statement that you were my woman.
And if you hadn't, we wouldn't be together.
That is correct. And I think that was still in a different context. I think, in this day and age, like, when I say definitively, you are not my possession. You don't belong to me. I'm not your possession. I don't belong to you. Your vagina does not belong to me. My penis does not belong to you. It's not a possession. We are not possessions. We are not objects. We are people to go where and whence we choose to go. Now, in that same token, just like you were saying, I am yours and you are mine, which I feel like speaks to a different thing. It's weird because, we're kind of agreeing. Line. We're agreeing in a sort, but the tone and the delivery of it, has to be different, I think, at the end of the day. And for me, listening to him, I think it sounded kind of different because he's kind of old school in his thought process.
It sounds different because he has defined it differently. He's defined it based on someone who's had difficulty being faithful. That's how he's defined it. Now he has taken ownership of her because that's the way that he maintains fidelity. So that's why, to me, it sounds so passionate, and why your energy and your spirit can't connect to it, because you can tell that it's not this, which is probably right. You're probably right about that.
Everybody's situation is different. Do you feel like because of the number of times that he's cheated? Because for me, last week when we were talking about this, you know, I really, honestly, I made a point of wanting to get married and have that be the only time that I get married. I wanted to get married one time. I wanted that to be it. And the person that I'm married to, and to be honest, that's, for the most part, that's everybody's thought process. For the most part.
For the most part. Okay.
70% of the time.
I'm cool with that.
Give or take. But I'm adamant about, like, I don't want to, you know, when you get on your third, fourth time, to me, you just playing with this shit. And once you get to that point.
You know, I would tend to agree with you, except that I know women who have been married before 2 or 3 times, couple of family members. And I don't think that they are playing with marriage. I think they are, in fact, very serious about it. I just think that they have their reasons why marriage is so important to them. And they are not dating anymore. It's, if we doing this, marriage has to be the end result. And that's how the marriages happen. And they believe that their man is out there, and they're not afraid to try it until they get it right. Now, and I don't know. I don't think that everybody who's married several times is cheating. My grandmother was married several times.
How many times was she married?
1, 2. She was married twice, but she had this thing with my granddaddy where they just was going back and forth for a while. And I don't know, it's kind of a blur because it happened. She ended up, by the time that she transitioned, when she lived a full life, she was 96 when she transitioned. She wasn't married at all.
Right.
By that time. Now that's what I don't want, you know, but I don't know. It's kind of hard I don't feel comfortable making that judgment because, the people that I know who have been married several times have found their forever finally, or what we think is forever finally. And I don't think that they would, if it wasn't, I don't think they'd have the stance of, I ain't doing it no more. I think they'd marry again. And I don't feel like they playing with it. I think they are serious. They just might be marrying the wrong people for them, so which at some point you have to take some time to evaluate. Is it you,
right, or
is it them? And if it is you, are you willing to make the changes that you need to make? Because the people that I'm talking about haven't spent a lot of time alone.
So if the other people were the wrong people, what happened to make you not see that they were the wrong people in the beginning?
Expedited marriage.
That's my thing. So getting married too quickly, or wanting to get married too quickly, or wanting to get married for the sake of saying that I'm married without doing a full vetting or knowing this person, especially like if you didn't live together and, you know, you didn't, you know, do anything together to know what it would be like. You know, people say all the time, well, you know, you're not supposed to shack up and live together and this and this before you get married. I'm probably one of the biggest proponents in the world for living together and living under a roof and running a household together in a relationship before you get married, so that you can know what the hell you're going to be getting yourself into, because it's a much different animal. But I say that to say, you're on your third or fourth marriage. What the hell happened the other 2 times? Because you actually got married to this person. So if that wasn't the right person, that means that there was something that you missed in the process. And why did you miss it in the process? And why did you let the process go through so fast to get there?
Well, in one of these cases of the women that I know, the first marriage was a horrible mistake. It was a young relationship, and He was not that good of a man to her, but she had invested so much time, and she gave him an ultimatum, and he was like, okay, that never works. So after that,
0% of the time does that work.
that doesn't work. But the next husband actually died, so that left her open again. And then the next husband was the one. So in her case, she wasn't playing around with marriage. She just had not found her forever dude. And that's just one instance. So it's not, I'm not comfortable with blanketing it that way.
I'll give you that.
Because you don't know what the situations are. I don't know anybody who's a serial marrier. I'm sure there are people out there.
Absolutely.
But I don't know any. The people that I know just so happen to believe in marriage enough to keep trying. And that's the way I choose to look at it.
I mean, as long as you're not treating marriage like it's like the bar exam or it's a test that you're going to take over and over again until you pass, I don't think marriage should be. And people may disagree if you're listening. I don't feel like marriage should be something that you do over and over again until you get it right.
Well, that's you, baby. That's you. That's your life perception.
Right.
Your parents were together until your mother transitioned. You don't have any other mind.
Any other example.
So you don't have any other, way to measure that except that you've seen two people be together all your life. That is not the same for everybody.
That's true indeed.
Our opinions are formed based on our life experience.
Yeah, experience does. Experience is the best teacher at the end of the day. So I think so. Okay.
Shout out Mickey Howard.
At any rate, yeah. Shout out to Nikki Howard. And on that note, that was a good discussion. I mean, we've had some good discussions the past 2 weeks, especially coming on the heels of love and life. We always have some topics to talk about, coming on the heels of that. Still got a few other things that, I want to touch on that we haven't touched on yet that, are in the realm of the relationship thing as well that I guess we'll get into really soon. But, there's still some birthday revelry to be had.
Candles and negligees.
Candles and negligees.
Do it work if I tell you first?
Yeah, it definitely works. I'm just not a surprise guy. I don't like surprises. I'm cool with spoilers. You can tell me what happened at the end of the movie. I want to know.
So weird.
It is.
Who does that?
I don't. I know what it is, and we may need to table it to the next thing. But that's a problem that, I want to feel like I'm in control of the situation.
Come on, breakthrough.
There's a problem there. And I've broke through that. I already know what that is. But I'm just not a surprise guy. I'm not a surprise. And we've got a 13-year-old who lurks around this house like a panther.
Did you say she lurks? You crazy.
I was just in the backyard before, we did this podcast. I was in the backyard earlier. I had walked all the way to the fence. You know what the fence is? Out by the deck. I had walked all the way there. Apparently, she had followed me out of the house. I walked to the fence, and I turned around, and she was standing on the deck. I didn't hear anything at all whatsoever, and I turned around, scared the fucking shit out of me. She walks around here like she's the Black Panther or Spider-Man, and she just pops up behind you. She takes great joy in it, as a matter of fact. And it's the craziest thing. But I don't like being surprised. I don't like surprises. I like to know what's happening when I'm going in. When my wife calls me and says, I got something I need to talk to you about, you need to tell me right now. What the hell?
My God,
you
yeah, you are like that.
I'm not waiting till you get home. I need to know what's happening. What's going on? I need to know what's happening. And if it's something really trivial, she'd be like, "Oh no, it's nothing. It's just bullshit."
I know you're still working through this, but I think you have an issue with emotional shifts. I think that's why spontaneity is a problem for you.
Yeah, I don't, and luckily, in the instance of both of my parents transitioning, there was a period of illness in the front of it that led into it. Dad's was a little bit more sudden, but he was in the hospital at the time. Did not, we did think he was coming out of the hospital, but it wasn't as difficult to deal with. Mom was sick for a period of time, and there was a decline there. I don't know what would have happened if, and I've been around people, And I've been in other relationships where their parents or grandparents died suddenly, like heart attacks, drop dead, car accident, gone. I don't know. This is something we'll table and talk about because that's a lot, really. That's something that we can use for the next podcast. So y'all got to tune in the next time. Y'all got to tune in. You got to check it out the next time. You got to make sure that you're listening to us on all streaming services. All right, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Apple Podcast, of course, here on YouTube, Black with No Chaser Radio. Check us out. Make sure that you tune in. All right, so we're going to go enjoy a little bit more birthday revelry, and we're going to see if we can make it through and still be standing after all of this is over with. It's Queen Week, so happy birthday and happy born day to my beautiful bride, who's celebrating another rotation around the sun as well. All right, so y'all make sure y'all tune in with us, man. Make sure y'all check back with us next week. All right, as always, I'm Kaz.
And I'm Queen.
This is Corny, Kaz and Queen. We'll see you guys next time. All right, peace.
Yes.